Oh, there we go. Hello. I think we're back. Can you guys confirm that you can hear me? Okay. Well, okay. Hello. Hi, Akras. Hi, Enzo. Hi, Penguin. Hello, everybody. So Akras, you were saying that's a long article. Yes. You're right. You cannot hear me on YouTube. I think you're lagging behind. I mean, you're right that you could not hear me before, but I think that now you can. It's just that there's some delay. I think we'll be able to confirm in a moment. So what I was saying is, actually, you know what? Let me give me a second because I can double check this stuff on YouTube. I think. Do. Yeah, it's working now. Okay, perfect. So what I was saying is, yeah, it is a longer article. Usually my articles are 1,600 words. Well, this one was 5,000 words, almost 6,000, I think. So it was like 4 times as big. Yeah, I do realize that it's tedious to ask people to read long shit, and they understandably sometimes give up halfway through. But man, I had no idea how to talk about all this stuff in fewer words. It's because I have to explain how the peer-to-peer stuff works, which is weird compared to normal. I could, you know what? I could definitely use fewer words to this, but then I would essentially have to assume that people get the idea from like one sentence without like they work out the implications. Hey, Befriendle, hello, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Good afternoon to you as well. Yeah, so either people understand everything, like either people one shot their understanding, but yeah, that never works out that way, right? So I ended up using more words. I don't know what to do. I'll say this. I didn't read it all, but I read the article part, and it was interesting. Thank you. If you want to see an interesting section, also in case you don't know, it's there. Also, this one about centralized package registries, I think it's mildly interesting because the point, like what in my mind makes Radical interesting, is not that it's just like a distributed forge, because strictly from that perspective, I mean, okay, it's cool, but it is also extra complexity. So like you gain something on one hand, but then you lose something on the other hand. And I wouldn't necessarily be convinced that it's that much better of a deal than just using Codework. It might, depending on who you are, what your interests are, but it might. But you know what? It might not be true for everybody. But when it comes to the Zig package manager, it's just a killer idea. Essentially, today, our like what we're doing with Zig is very brittle. And the only way to make it less brittle is to fork or render everything, which you can do, but it's isolating, it's extra work. People are not going to do it. And then once they're going to do it, they're going to essentially create a bunch of redundancy. That we could exploit for creating a highly available system, but we just don't. And that's what normally that's not what happens. But that's what Radical is great at. So essentially, you just reseed your dependencies as a form of, which is like it's like forking, but easier and better. So for you and for everybody else involved. So from the perspective of the Zig package manager, it seems like a very good idea. Then whether and to be clear, it doesn't have to be Radical strictly. Like any peer-to-peer solution of this kind would work. But some people are already doing it. They have figured out a lot of tiny things. They've come up with a design that you can try and evaluate. I think there is something of value there, like some clever ideas, some elegance. So I think that that is worth looking at. Um, and then I don't know, and then you decide what you want to do with your life, essentially. Yeah. I don't know if I said this before, but I do think that radical is um, the type of the type of stuff that people do with crypto, except that now it's actually useful. So that's my perspective. And it's cool. There are a lot of features missing though. We were trying this with MLAG the other day, and um, uh, for example, I mean, stuff works. Like, let's see, Radical Network nodes, Radical Christoph IT. Um, we merged APR using Radical, and it was cool. And apparently, PRs also have there's a concept of review. There are issues. Like for example, one thing that is missing though is um, there is no search functionality for issues, and like that would be probably a kind of a hard blocker for a project like Zig, for example. In my case, my projects are small enough that I don't care. But yeah, a project like Zig, uh, searching issues is something that you do a lot. But the funny thing is, it's not there. But once it gets there, then it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be strictly superior to whatever GitHub offers you. Well, I mean, better searching than GitHub doesn't take much. But the fact that you have everything on your own computer, you're not doing network access. You're searching your own local database. So yeah, that's also cool. Okay, I'm replying to a message on Zigit, and then I'm gonna get something to drink, and then we're gonna start the stream. But the to do thing says it. Look at radical, do stuff maybe with radical, do stuff with Zine maybe, um, and Zig in general. Let's see. I loved Zig more than C++ Rust due to its explicitness, but I doubt that I will get a job in it. How to decide in the right way what to do further? Be best in Zig or move to some more job ready things? I well, I guess it depends on the specifics of your situation. Will you ever be able to get a job doing Zig? Uh, well, it's hard to say, right? Not knowing more about your details, but it is fair to say that there are not that many Zig jobs out there. There are some, but not many. And today, I think it's kind of the situation where the people who can realistically aim for Zig jobs are people who have been in the community for a long time, who are already today essentially, the most knowledgeable Zig developers you can find out there, and who are known because they made open source projects, or in any case have done things that made them visible in the community. So like these are the people that obviously will have like a privileged access to Zig jobs, in light of the fact that there is scarcity of those. um can you challenge these people? Yeah, you can. Is this something like, is this like a good strategy that is likely to get you where you want to be? No, it's a gamble. Will there be more Z jobs in the future? Probably. At what rate? I don't know. So what I would say is Zig is not hard to learn. It really doesn't take much to learn Zig. What it does take more time is learn systems programming in general. And so you might very well, like, if you have access for some reason to C++, or Rust jobs, then aim for those, and you will find that a lot of skills transfer. There is a case to be made that if you work in a C++ or Rust ecosystem, I mean, the same is true also for C, but in a different way. But especially, I would say, especially C++, you will be um, you will be told to do things in a way that is sometimes, maybe oftentimes, considered suboptimal in the Zig ecosystem. So it's not going to be a one to one. There is still going to be some, um, how can I say, some things that don't transfer. And although actually, from my perspective, what I would personally do is that if I was forced to write C++, I would write it Zig style. But I can understand that not necessarily being a viable thing that you can do everywhere. Um, but yeah, keeping that in mind, then you can pick one of the other languages that is more likely to give you a job, and then you do Zig on your free time, and most of the things that you learn will transfer. Not everything, but a good chunk of them will transfer. Like what's a pointer, how to do bit fiddling, syscalls, whatnot. So that part is universal among all these languages. Um, so I wouldn't necessarily hyper focus on Zig if you have a need to be ready for the job market. Hello, more power. Okay, give me a second. I'll go get something to drink. You know what? I'm gonna do Bork start. No, AFK. Let's do a 5 minute timer. I'll be back sooner than 5 minutes probably. But 5 minute timer, and then we start. Okay. Do. Let's see. The main reason I am moving to systems programming is AI. I just hate it. And it was eating web dev like a cake. So to avoid this slop race, I decided to enter and start the journey by choosing Zig. I see. I have to be honest. I don't think I have a good understanding of what the job space for systems programming is. I think that the fact that systems programming is already niche in general compared to web development. So, um, yeah, I think that you'll need to specialize on something in some way. Like I would even argue that the language might not be the main thing that you want to look at. It will have some impact, yes, um, but what I've seen, which is not a lot, so I'm not claiming that my perspective is, you know, authoritative or complete enough to be widely applicable. Hey, Lunar Sunil, thank you, Lunar Sunil, thank you for the raid. Hello, everybody, welcome. So, uh, in my experience, which is limited, but what I've seen is that many of these companies, they will hire you even if you're not an expert in the language that they use. What they want is for you to understand lower level programming in general. They will test you for example, knowing when an algorithm needs heap allocation when it doesn't, that kind of stuff. So um, I've seen actually plenty of no, I'm sorry, that is not true. I've seen some job postings where they explicitly say this. They explicitly say that, gonna run good luck on your stream. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. So I've seen a few jobs postings that literally explicitly say that they use language X, and they're fine with you knowing some XYZ language, and that they will form you. But I think my understanding is that they're willing to do that language wise. So they still expect you to have some knowledge of systems programming. I think this might be true for example, Tiger Beetle. I think this was true for Ban, although now I think they are more explicitly hiring Rust developers. I think that was true also for ZML. These are all companies in the Zig space except Ban. That's limited and biased sample size. But I think I've seen some other ones. I mean, like if you're getting into game dev, for example, I guess that's going to be C++, and or C#. So you're not gonna be able to escape from that. So I don't know. That's what I have. Sorry, I don't think I can give you a much better answer than this. Are you using AI right now? No, I'm talking to chat and reading your messages. Am I using AI for developing my software? Mostly no. Have I ever used AI? Yes, I have. Do I use it regularly? Not really. Sometimes. It's cool when I need it, when I want it. Thankfully, I'm in the extremely privileged position of not having to use it, not being forced to use it. So I don't know. I'm not stressing over it. Like, here's the thing. I don't know why everybody's stressing over it. I mean, I do know to some degree. I just think that those reasons that I do know about, they are dumb. But there's no reason to stress over it as much. Like, just whatever. Anyway, I'll try to enjoy my freedom for as long as I can. Let me just put it this way. So what are we doing? Let me, for context, I published this yesterday. who should pay for code source availability? If anybody here, has seen the blog post and has comments or has questions, maybe you found something not clear enough, I'm happy to answer questions and expand on my reasoning. It's a pretty long blog post, so please make sure that you do actually read it before asking something that's actually written in the text. That said, yeah, I will admit it's kind of a longish blog post. But if you're into this stuff, I think you will not find it boring. Okay, so and related to this, I started using Radical more seriously. I have my Radical node here with some of my projects. I haven't ported yet all my dependencies, but I did port some. And what else? I did port some. And yeah, I don't know. Life goes on. So also with MLAG the other day, we merged APR. It was nice. And so what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to do some Zine development. This is not going to be particularly relevant to Radical because I have the authoritative copy. I have the authoritative copy of Zine on my computer right now. I'm gonna go find issues and PRs on GitHub because none of this stuff has been posted to Radical to me yet. But I will say this: if anybody here has a legitimate issue or PR to send, feel free to do so also on Radical. I will look at those. On Radical, the PR would be called a patch, which is a nice name. I'm happy to, honestly, I would be happy to switch to calling these things patches. And yeah, and that is it essentially. So that's what I'm gonna do. There's also maybe some Ziggy work that we could do because last time where I left Ziggy was that we actually decided. I actually decided what integers, floats, and strings should look like for real. Like I formalized it, and so the implementation right now doesn't do this, but it doesn't seem all that terrible to implement. So we could also get Ziggy, move it towards becoming a proper language. I have to say, it is kind of cringe the fact that this freaking language is still going around with a crappily prototyped parser for numbers and strings. I'll be the first one to admit it. So I think we should try to make it better. And then related to this, there's also some, Zine stuff that I wanted to look at. Yeah, so I think this is it for me. And then finally, also maybe a web of stuff. This one was closed prematurely. Oh yeah, there's also Super HTML stuff that needs fixing. Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. Wait, did I really just make I just made a comment that didn't fix the full thing? Oh wait, your message said, dude, this thing can be 0, and then I allowed it to be 0, but what is missing? Oh shit, the max attribute. There's also value. Okay. Yeah, no, okay. You say they, but it's actually me. This is not a PR. This is your boy doing crappy work. Oh man. Yeah. Good point. I should fix this. Okay, you know what, Andrew? Since you're here, and I would say you have a right to priority. What do you say? Let's do this. Okay, let's get our bearings. Oh no. So? Oh man, the single page one is garbage. Oh, there's a PR for it already? Yeah, you're right. Let me double check though that they're not as dumb as I was. Um okay, so this was strict. This is not strict anymore. This was made not strict by me, and now this is strict. But this message, this is correct. Yeah, this is correct. Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh yeah, I have a fucked up README. Man, I ran the README. I at some point Flow introduced Prettier as a default formatter for Markdown, and Prettier obliterated my README. I hate it. I really hate it. Okay. Yeah, okay. I need to undo that commit. There's a commit that has touched the README, and I need well, maybe not undo the full commit because I think it was part of something else. But like where are the LIs being fucked up? But it was an AI bot? Oh no. Yeah, look at this shit. Okay, this is the commit that we want to change. How do I revert part of this commit though? Hmm. I guess I want to do git rebase. No, I don't want to do git rebase. I want to do a like revert but interactive. Is there like a git revert interactive? Oh, quit, continue, abort, skip. Well, what could go wrong, right? Let's see. Auto merging. After resolving the conflict, mark them with. Okay, so git checkout source slash example.zig. Please, everything in source is fine. Oh shit. Okay, you know what? Here's a better way of doing this. I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna copy the file, and then I'm going to override everything. What the fuck does unexpected token mean? I don't know. And then when we diff, we can see what changed. Some things should be fine, some things should not be fine. This should be fine. Basically, I think there might be some sections where like I don't know if I had the information about the example in here or not. So I don't want to nuke that. But it doesn't seem that I did. I can go check it directly. Example. No, yeah, okay. Wait a second. Am I dumb where I copied over the file after it being mangled? God damn it. I need to copy the readme from the commit before. uh, from the commit before. So yes, this does contain the example stuff. Awesome. Um, we need to go to the parent, browse files, look at the readme, copy the file. Then maybe we can go back to and we can go back to here and look at the example section because it seems that we did add it here. Okay, so we have that. Okay. Do not require set that attribute source without with descriptor. A source element whose parent is a picture element has the following requirements. If addition the following similar element, blah blah blah. Okay, let's take a look at the change quickly, and then we'll take a look at it. If seen any W and append error, while before it was right there. Okay, let's take a look at more in detail at what Techatrix was saying. Source element whose parent is a picture element has the following requirements. If the source set attribute has any image candidate strings, using it with descriptor, then the sizes attribute may also be present. If additionally, the following EMG element does not allow auto sizes, the sizes must also be present. Okay, I think I remember seeing these, and you know what? I'll trust Techatrix on this. So I'm just going to merge. Math tag display and alt text attributes. Added display with block and in Venus. Okay, what's this issue? Oh, it's another one from Andrew. Blah blah blah. To reproduce type. Anyway, invalid attribute on this element. Math cannot have display, but according to MetaML, it should have that. Okay, let's see. Jimmy Smith. Okay, so they defined attributes for math. Alt text and display. Wait, and what is the testing strategy for static? Okay. Is this gonna cause other issues though with other attributes that this thing can allow? Global attributes as well as display and alt text. Okay, so what are global attributes? These guys. Oh, okay. You know what? I think this is a step in the right direction. I'll take it. Okay, so this should have closed also that issue. Um, right. Did I not merge these already? Or apply this change? I did not. Okay, so there we go. Add CSS URL parsing. Okay, so these are the more serious ones. Okay, I would say this is so far so good. Let's see. Does everything build correctly still and pass tests? Git pull, Zig build test. We're good. Uh, that's nice. So I can Zig build and update my thingy. The question is, when are we gonna make a new release of Super HTML? Because we need to make these things available to other people, right? Also, we should do this: git push rad main. There you go. We push also to radical. Here's one thing that I don't understand. How comes that my YouTube chat is still broken on YouTube? It makes no sense. Okay. Um. So Super HTML should be a little bit better than it was before. Next, Zine. Here, are we happy in actions? Yep, we're good. Look at Zine. Yeah, I remember seeing this PR. This seems nice. Also, I think I have CI in here, right? No, it needs approval. Why do Zine PRs need approval? That actually surprises me. I think this might fail the snapshot tests. Yeah, you know what? Let's check out this PR ourselves. $16.62. Oops. $14.65. Okay. Let's see how we're gonna do with an even bigger update. Um Zig build test. Actually, you know what? Let's do Zig build first. Then we care about the snapshot tests afterwards. Hey Calder, howdy howdy. How was systems distributed? It was nice. Boston was nice. Um, the conference was also nice. We had a Zig day with a lot of people. Thank you for the Prime sub. Um, I think that compared to other conferences, oh there we go. Translate C is old, which is fair. Oh wait, you know what? This might even be RMRF Zig package because this might have been already updated. We need to. Oh shit! I think this was fixed. Oh no, I'm fucked. Am I? Oh shit! Now I'm totally fucked. What if I try to go here? Is this enough? No, right? Because I have to give the fully qualified thing. Is there a zone file in here that has been updated? Oh no, they didn't update the zone file, so we don't know what the full name of this version is. Oh shit. Okay, we can solve this. I'll finish answer the question about systems distributed. So systems distributed, there was a nice Zig day. Compared to other conferences, to previous systems distributed, um, a lot more people were Zig aware um, this time. I mean, it's not like people that go to system distributed know nothing about Zig, probably ever. I think that even starting from the first one, people were aware that Zig existed. Um, but I think that I had the impression that in previous iterations of the conference, there were more people that were there mainly for the distributed database stuff. While this year, well, you know what? I don't know. Maybe the people were still there because that's what they care about the most. But even if that was the case, I think that everybody was more aware, more interested in Z than in the past. So I think I spoke with a ton of people. Sorry, I spoke with a ton of people. Like I don't know. I feel like I spoke with like 80% of the attendees. Um, and not necessarily long chats. mostly short chats, but occasionally also long chats as well. I think it's getting too big. If people know about it at conferences, where can I get the avant-garde points? I don't know. Well, I think Ziggin is still a good place for that. Otherwise, I don't know. If you want to be super avant-garde, try Radical. I read a blog post about it, and yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Also, um, also I merged APR to Zin through Radical, and we were trying it out with MLog, and you know, the core part was working nicely, very nicely, like the networking part, which it's kind of like the core feature. But you can see that they are a work in progress project, just like Zig is. So they have these new things that are like new or relatively new, but like the new stuff clearly doesn't have all the tooling in place yet. But still, it left me a positive impression. You need to have the mindset of an early adopter, though. That is for certain. I'm always super skeptical about decentralized systems. Same, absolutely same. But as far as decentralized systems go, this one is very tame because it's like I set up my own node with my own like I set up radical.christoph.it, and that is my node that has my repos. It is obviously not as simple as setting up a self-hosted Forjo, but it's not that far from it either. Like you want Zin, you go on my thingy, click on Zin, and then there's a clone thingy. And if you are not using Radical, you select Git and you git clone it normally, or you download it. And yeah. So like, here's how I think it's a good way of looking at it. Instead of self-hosting Forjo, and then you fork in it all your dependencies, and then when your self-hosted Forjo dies, everybody gets broken unless they also forked you as a dependency and all your dependencies as well. If you do the same with Radical, you just get better availability because all the forks, quote unquote, are also mirrors. That is the main thing. And then secondarily, the fact that issues and patches are in the repo itself, so that you can, for example, like think about it this way. You can do local search on your computer within your issues. You don't have to rely on the stupid GitHub search for it. I think that's great. There are some caveats in place. For example, one is issue search today doesn't really work because I don't think it has been implemented yet. It is one of those few things that if you join the Radical Zulip, you will see that people are working on, but it is not fully in place yet. Like you can see that there are a lot of things are in place, right? Like this UI, it's pretty polished in my opinion. A lot of things look good enough for usage. Search is not quite there yet. But that's the idea. So the point is not that you really heavily depend on the peer-to-peer stuff all the time, right? That's clearly not going to work. Like if you try to treat the system as a like purely BitTorrent system, like the same way that you download One Piece, yeah, that's not going to cut it. Because if you look at it that way, you don't want to have the experience of downloading One Piece, but when you're building a package. Actually, downloading One Piece is usually works pretty well. It's more like you're downloading something that might or might not be there, right? On torrent, so you might be stuck waiting for the download to finish. But that's not how Radical works. Radical is, I really think that the best way to think about Radical is you set up your own node for your own shit, and then you seed your dependencies because you want your stuff to not break. In a sense, you do that precisely because you don't trust the decentralized nature. And then the upside is that you do that, but then at the same time, your forks are discoverable and usable as mirrors. So when something does go down, the network heals. And so, yeah, that's good. That is good. Okay, we need to figure out what is this version of Zig. Okay, I think we have two options ahead of us. Either, god damn it, how do we solve this? I mean, it's a shame that this contributor has not given us a hash for this. That's annoying. I don't think I have a tool for discovering versions, right? Just update to master. I just did. And here's the problem. And here's the problem with master. The problem with master is that if you delete your Zig PKG directory, uh I don't know, is it the maker? Is it the configurer? In any case, part of the build system panics because there's a bug, which I know there's a PR from Squeak that fixes this bug, but I don't know if it's in yet or if it's in but then it hasn't been released yet. Where am I going? Squeak. Wait, is RPCAC Squeak? No. Is RPCAC Squeak or is Squeak Squeak? I wish I had some kind of thing that helped me. Oh, we actually have it. And yes, Squeak is Squeak indeed. And all his stuff is closed. No, this is not it. It's one of the recent ones. Is this one? Yeah, this is the one. I think this is the one. Okay, so it's in, but it hasn't been released yet. So how do we do this? Oh, nunca. And thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, this helps. Okay, let me try this one. Thank you all. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Um. Oh, cool. We are failing, but we're failing good, huh? That's good failure. Actually, wait. Let's remove Zig package. Good failure still? Good failure. Okay. Good failure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wonka. Thank you, Lord Sheraton. Thank you very much. That was it. Read your post. Just wanted to make sure you're aware. Radical is incorrect when they answer that they are hardened. SHA1 protects them from abuse. It doesn't work that way. What is this about? Integrity of commits? Hostile nodes can deliver fake Git objects. Still the default in Git because GitHub refuses to support SHA2. I don't know the details about. I think I read something about like. I think sorry, as I was saying, I think I read something about them having a modified SHA1 SHA1, but I don't know the details. I think they're working on a 2.0 version of Radical, so they're essentially pulling in a bunch of breaking changes. So I don't know if this might be a good time to do this kind of change, assuming that that is a problem. So anyway, let's get this work going. So we need to update translate C. Hopefully we can update translate C and that just be good. No, we can't. Because that translates C. Wait, is this do I have oh, I see what the problem is. I have a bunch of different translate Cs. Why do I have a bunch of different translate Cs? Because my project also depends on this. Okay, so here's how it's gonna work. We need to start this upgrade work from the bottom, right? We need to do this also to other projects. And it's a good time to do this because we have to do it anyway, sooner or later. So let's go to scripty, Zig build. Cool. Zig build test. There we go. Okay, so dot debug lowercase d, lowercase d, lowercase d, lowercase d, lowercase d, lowercase d, and lowercase d. Okay. Okay, it was only that file. Okay. Version. Let's update our zone file. Ba-bam. Hey Dylan, thank you for the raid. Hello everybody. Holy cow. Welcome. So, welcome raiders. Here's what we're doing on this stream. We're doing open source, exciting, super exciting open source maintenance work. Merging PRs, replying to issue comments, high octane replying to issue comments. We're doing boring open source maintenance work. But in the middle of that, in case anybody is interested, I wrote a blog post titled "Who Should Pay for Source Code Availability." If you're interested in these topics, so GitHub versus Codeberg versus Tangled versus other solutions like Radical. What about centralized package indexes versus decentralization? And in general, the titular question: who should pay for source code availability? Do take a look. I'll warn you, it's a bit of a long blog post. So if you're not really into this stuff, it's probably going to be too much. But if you are, I promise you, you're not going to get bored. And this is, long story short, why I believe the Radical is an interesting approach that is qualitatively radically different to the other alternatives that I've seen here, especially Tangled. Like, I think that sometimes when I see discussions, my impression is that people say you have on one side the traditional stuff, GitHub and Codeberg, and then on the other side you have the other things like Tangled and Radical. And so people tend to draw these lines like this: GitHub, Codeberg, Tangled, Radical. I would argue that a much more interesting way of grouping them is GitHub and Tangled, Codeberg and Radical. In my opinion, Tangled is much more close to GitHub than Codeberg is, and Radical as well is closer to Codeberg than it is to Tangled, in my opinion. Obviously, not from a perspective of centralization versus decentralization, because obviously GitHub, Codeberg centralized, Tangled and Radical decentralized, but Tangled is federated, Radical is peer-to-peer, and that makes a huge difference, especially when it comes to the goals of these different tools. So if you go to christoph.it, I highly recommend you take a look, and then if you have questions, complaints, and whatnot, yeah, I'm happy to chat about this stuff. European ex-Canada collab. Sapsucker? What? Sparkling water beverage sweetened with organic maple sap. Oh, man. Tapped in Canada. Wait, what's the European part in this? Anyway. Oh, sparkling water, right. Do. I lost my first arrival key when my SSD died. My repos will forever be available, but never changeable. Well, you should fork them, obviously, right? You make a new authoritative, like you literally fork them in the like serious meaning of the term. So you make new copies that you have access to, and you are the canonical, and you keep developing them that way. And then the old ones eventually, hopefully, will fade into oblivion and will actually be forgotten by the network as people adopt your new versions. Source 3 didn't even get a mention. I actually don't know about Source 3. Do you have a link? I think that either you told me about this and I forgot, or I might have never really ever known about it. Huh. Wrong link? Or should you have hosted it on Radical? I'm joking. Your browser is broken. It's Firefox. So yes. No, I don't know. Wait, let me turn on my other computer. Connecting. Communication prohibited by filter. Huh. Does this mean that this is a local policy? No, but you know what? My other computer also doesn't do this. Your network is sending me too much spam. If you tell me your IP, I can unblock your subnet. Okay. Um, the first two blocks are 154.60. 154.60. Okay, so everybody's blaming me. Well, it's actually Grey Hatter being elitist or something. Big mad. Okay, so in my defense, I could have not known about source tree considering that I can't even go to the website. So, oops, what happened? Um, so I'm guessing this is source tree. Hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, so here's what I know about. Okay, so there's at least four. You know what? My wording was actually correct because I was conservative about it. So the ones that I know about are Source 3, um, Megan's, um, Forge. I forget the name of the project. There's an M in there, I think. Um, then there's Haxi, and then there is, yeah, Nectar has a Forge. Yeah. Um, although I think the focus is, I think that the order of prioritization of features might not be the same exact as you. Maybe, I don't know. There's a few different ways in which you can look at these things, and um, again, maybe I'm misremembering, but of course, visualizing the source code and diffs and stuff, you all have this, so there's that. But maybe other things might differ. So my point is, there might be some nuance there that I'm forgetting about. That being said, so there's Haxi, and then there's the fourth one, which is the one that recently got on social media. And I'm forgetting the name. Does anybody in chat remember the names of the forges that I'm forgetting the name of? Uh, hey, I'm new to Zig. What projects do I get a hold of? Do I do to get a hold of the language? Hello, Dodds. Sorry, Borg has YouTube chat has already pooped itself in Borg. What should you do to get started? Um, my recommendation for projects is to, one, take a look at prepackaged experiences that give you a guarantee that you are going to try something new, but you're also going to succeed. So, for example, you have crafting interpreters. You can do crafting interpreters in Zig. That works. Another one is ray tracing in a weekend. That also works. The first one. This is going to give you C++ examples, but with a little bit of work, really a little bit, like not all that much, you can turn this C++ into Zig, and you can learn how ray tracing works. Another one is operating system in 1,000 lines of code. It turns out you need way less than 1,000 if you do this in Zig. This one requires a bit of bit fiddling and knowing about executable file formats, or, well, not necessarily knowing about, but being willing to learn that stuff. While the other examples that I mentioned earlier are more tame in that sense. But yeah, all of these are good. And then the second thing that I would say is, if you're learning Zig and Zig is your first lower level programming language, so you are spent all your life doing um, high level programming, um, don't pick a project in a domain that you know already really well. If you're a web dev, don't try to learn Zig trying to set up a web server. You're not going to have a good time. You know really well how to make web servers, um, but then you don't know Zig really well. So you're going to get frustrated because stuff that is simple and then you think you should be able to knock out in a second, in the blink of an eye, is actually going to take you a long time. But that is normal because sometimes some of these things require you to get comfortable with concepts that you're not comfortable yet. For example, that relate to manual memory management. So pick a domain that you are not familiar with, so that you don't have this huge mismatch that is guaranteed to leave you dissatisfied and annoyed. So that is my recommendation. Also, if you're always used higher level programming languages, there are domains that have always been locked out for you, like real-time audio stuff, the ray tracing stuff. I mean, technically you can do a ray tracer in JavaScript. It's just going to be slow as fuck. Yeah, keep that in mind. The one for making, I mean, I think it might be this. No. Yeah, it has a more complicated name. Oh, this is my beat. Oh no, that's the blogging thing. Okay. Let me see. I'll try to find it a little bit harder. I'm gonna search GitHub history. Sorry, GitHub. Discord history. I think I should be able to find it. Oh, there we go. The name is Shale. And yeah, search doesn't help with that. But if I do this, this is an instance of it. So there you go. I can have some clones. This is what it looks like. And if you go to the bottom, it says, all right, the Zig readme is very long. There we go. Generated by Shale, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Found it. There you go. Is Five icon on your website transparent or is it not loading for me? You mean my official website? I frankly don't know what the situation of my Five icon is at this point. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't show up. Okay. Back to work. So, git status, git log, git push, rad main, pushing also to radical, my node, doing good work. Script is done. Next in line is Ziggy, I guess. Let's see how Ziggy is doing. Blap, already seen an error. LSP kit. Well, shit. Struct Zig ASD parse option has no member named Zig. Oh, god damn it. But, it's not open source? Oh, it's not? Is it not open source as in it's not open source yet? Or is it not open source as in it's not open source? Never, because it has pricing. The fact that it has pricing doesn't necessarily mean that is. Oh wait, or unless pricing is. Uh huh. You know what though, the fact that that the project itself is not hosted in Megan's mirrors, I guess you could argue um, is a hint that it's not meant to be open source. So I guess it's not open source. Okay, so what's the problem here? The problem is LSP kit, right? Zig fetch save. Grab an updated version of LSP kit. Pray that it works. Okay. Did we make progress? We did. And now that broke my usage of it a bunch. Not that bad. Actually, I think it's only one place. Expected type something, found something else. Okay. And then a couple of uppercase debugs. Hi, Calder. Did you have this man praying after what he has uttered out loud? I have no idea what you're talking about, Matt. I'm the most. Actually, how do you pronounce this word? Pious? That is a word in English, right? I'm not making this up. Yeah. I'm the most earnestly compliant in the observance of religion person that you have ever met. Okay. Okay, so this is some of it. The other one was I should open a different tab. Well, we can rerun the build, I guess. I'm updating to this. I would update it to something even more recent, but there's a bug. There's a hard bug in the super new stuff, and well, no, let me put it this way: there's a bug that is present in the latest build on the website. The fix is merged, but it hasn't reached build tarball yet. So yeah. Oh, you just only so yeah. Have an available system prompt. uh, okay, logic. Okay, message needs to be something different. Can I go to definition? Crap, can't go to definition. And I don't think ZLS has been fixed yet. So we need to figure out what the heck you're supposed to put in message then. So it's this type. It's LSP type diagnostic. Okay. Actually, does ZLS have a hosted docs thing somewhere? Well, LSP kit would need that. Oh, those look like docs. There's message. Oh, there we go. String markup content. I'm ad-libbing this, but hopefully it's not too wrong. Let's see. Kind and value. Okay, kind, union. Okay, markdown. Perfect. And this is value. Okay, has this made you happy? 1471. But that should work anyway, right? You do you think these two comments? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it only for you, Matt. Only for you. I need to check that this build does not have the bug that I experienced before, though. Um, okay, 108. So there's another place where this same thing happens. Okay. What's this bug? I'll show you in a second. Nuke Zig package. And if you get a hard panic from the builder, then the bug is there. Okay. The bug is not there, so this comment is safe. I if you want to update to newer Zig, I recommend to wait a couple of days before you do. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so we built successfully. Right. Actually, let's do this. Okay, I already did this. Okay, script is updated, Zig is updated. Next is Super HTML. Actually, one sec. Git push rad main. Git push rad main. I didn't put. Oh, I didn't put Ziggy on Radical. Well, it's time to do that. Got a question. There are rumors about Zig. It's going down after Ban left. Could you tell me more about, please? Yes. Zig is dead. The one JavaScript runtime project that happened to use Zig is gone, and now actually this is my very last stream. I think in about an hour the police is gonna come. They're gonna take everything that I own, and yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life next. I think maybe I'll get some bees and try to make honey. I don't know, but essentially I'm now forbidden from using computers. So, well, such is life. What can you do? um, Ban was a project that was using Zig, a big project, a notable one. It brought some attention to Zig, also in the negative, because people would point at Ban as an example of Zig being a bad language. Um, a good chunk of the attention was from JavaScript devs, most of which I'm not making a statement about JavaScript devs in general, but of those who have joined like the Zig Discord server because of Ban, a good chunk of them would join, think that they're going to use Zig to make the fastest web server ever, then quickly realize that they needed to learn more about systems programming, the majority of which had no intention of doing, and so they would leave. So it's not even that like the positive attention that we got was particularly key to the growth of Zig. Yeah, and that's it. And now Ban is gone, and I don't know, life goes on. So it was never this big thing in the beginning for Zig, and yeah, it being gone really doesn't change much. Let's put Ziggy on Radical. Wait, am I smoking? Am I smoking crack? Yeah, I forgot to put Ziggy on Radical. So now you can watch me put our repository on Radical. What's the description for Ziggy? No. There we go. We now have an ID. And Have I logged in from here? No, I don't want to reset my password. Okay, so I'm not gonna be able to show you how adding a node to a Radical Garden looks like. I mean, it's trivial. There's a web interface that I'm logged into, uh, and it has a box that allows me to paste a repository ID. That's that's like super trivial. Paste the link in there, and then it shows up. Hey, Danakam. Is there any approximate release date for Zig 1.0? No, we're following an approach where it's kind of ready when it's ready. There's still some space of things that needs to be explored. Probably about 5 years from now. But but we're not gonna tag 1.0 early. We're gonna tag 1.0 late. So chances are that depending on your use case, it is possible, if not probable, that um, Zig will be stable enough for you, even if it's not 1.0 yet. But it depends on your use case. Depends on who you are. Running a radical node currently still a pain point of the project. What do you mean? What do you mean? I find some comments really confusing. It's you have to be running a node though. Like, are you like sorry? Are you talking about the fact that you've tried to run one and you found it hard to set it up? In that case, sure, but otherwise, you obviously need to have a thing running all the time for your stuff to stay available, and that's not something that a peer-to-peer network will automatically save you from. You can probably quote unquote leech off some of the goodwill that is in the network by having another node host your stuff for sure. But if you want a good setup, you will want to have your own node. Not everybody has to have their own node, but if you're somebody who would be willing to pay the €5 a month subscription from GitHub, chances are that you are the same type of person that probably should be running their own node. The main nodes from the Radical team are currently sufficient. Yeah, but I still set up my own node because I don't want to rely on that. It seems like too many extra steps for something that feels like should be a lot simpler. I'm not sure how that could be much simpler than it is, because you need to have some form of cryptographic signing of things, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to know what to trust. Like, you wouldn't be able to safely get copies from other mirrors. And other than that, I don't know. Okay, so Ziggy exists, and to do. Okay, I'm looking at a bajillion different tabs. None of them has what I want. Oh, there we go. And Ziggy is now here. Okay, so I also have Ziggy now on Radical. Cool. Well, I mean, that was it. It was just running rad init. So Ziggy is updated now. Wait, did I push also elsewhere? Did I also push to GitHub? Yeah, I did. Okay. Git has plenty of crypto. Seems silly to invent new stuff. It does, but I personally think that the primitives that Radical adds do make sense, and I don't see how you would be able to make them work out of the box just strictly from Git. Also, to be clear, they don't reinvent the wheel. They still leverage Git for data integrity. So part of the process for verifying things is also by leveraging what Git has in on itself. So I guess what you would have to do is look at what the other thing, the things that they do on top of Git, and then argue that they could be done more directly through Git. I'm not an expert when it comes to how Git works, so that might be the case, and I wouldn't be able to tell. But my general impression reading the docs, is that it all seems kind of necessary, at least mostly. What bothers me is that it doesn't have any remote API. So if you want to track a new repo, uh, or so, you always have to SSH into your node and run commands. No, no. You don't have to do this. I mean, it depends. Here's how you can set up this in a nicer way. If you set up your remote node to follow your local node, everything that your local node seeds will be automatically seeded also by your remote node. So that way you keep them in sync. Then, of course, if you want some more sophisticated behavior, then yeah, sure. The node appears like any other user, so you can see many users appearing twice, once as their main user and then again as their seeding node. Yeah, there's no distinction. I don't know if that will change any of the things that you were mentioning here, but they are working on this idea of separating the concept of a user from the concept of a node. They're right now they are essentially the same, right? One node is one user, and if you are actually the same dude with two nodes, that means that you would need to create essentially two identities. I think they're separating a user identity from a node identity, and then there's going to be the concept that the node belongs to a given user, and so that way you should be able to aggregate this data better. If it's suitable for you, could you explain what Zig still needs to become a stable version? Well, if you go to the Zig website and then you go to the Zig repository, Zig website, and you click on source, and if you look at issues and you look at the ones that have the label accepted, okay, I pressed new thing by mistake, accepted. Oh, this is loading. Oh, it's just low at loading, right? So you can see that there's a bunch of accepted proposals. These all need to be implemented. Also, our issues are actually split between Codeberg and GitHub. So you also need to look at the ones on GitHub. So label accepted. So all of these are accepted proposals that need to be implemented. And this is not an exhaustive list, but the point is that there are a lot of big and tiny details that need to be looked into before Zig is done. From language internals to, completing incremental compilation. There's a very long list. It's been over a year since I temporarily set up a node, but something there was impossible without SSH into my server and running some commands. It might be possible that maybe when you used it, there was no system to have a node follow another node, maybe. If that was the case, then yeah, I could totally see not there being any other way. There's definitely things that are like heavily work in progress still in Radical. For example, apparently a Git style, when you push to refs, what is it, refs 4 and then blah blah, that's a blah blah here. This is your target branch for your PR. This way of pushing has been implemented 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's still a work in progress project. I think that 2.0 is mainly them getting rid. I think it's two things: the user identity thing that I mentioned, and getting rid of the current networking dependencies that they have for the peer-to-peer stuff, and replacing those with IRO. Searching things on Radical is still a bit meh. Oh yeah, for sure. There's no global search. Actually, I saw it. Wait. So you're generally right. But I saw this. All right, this might take a moment to load. But yeah, you're right. The search is not implemented yet in a bunch of places. And some of it is. So if you go to, while this loads, if you go to radical.network nodes index.radical.garden, maybe, I don't know, this. All right, here. No. If you go here, so actually, let me show you without this. So if I go to Rosa, it says this seed doesn't have the search backend enabled, so repository search is unavailable. But if you switch to index radical garden, you see that the search box appears. And it allows you, it gives you search for all the repos hosted on this node, which I guess is better than nothing. But this is still not search that allows you to search within issues. And that is key, but it's not implemented yet. And I mean, obviously it can be implemented, right? So check this out. There's this on search.radical.xyz. There's this global search thing that allows you to search on everything, including issues. So, like, they're clearly working on this stuff, right? So here I can search for, I don't know, like if I search for syntax highlight, it shows me the patch that mlag sent me. In Zin. So yeah. Finding a web on Radical, yeah. I think this is what you're looking for. Another similar project is Tangled. Tanaka, I am personally, after looking into this stuff more in detail, I personally believe that Tangled is dramatically worse than Radical. It looks sexy, and at a high level, I by the way, before doing this work, I also thought of Radical and Tangled being vaguely in the same space, and you kind of having to choose which one you want to commit to. And of course, Tangled being on 80 Proto is, I don't know, in some ways less niche, more safe. I don't know what to call it. But take a look at this blog post. Actually, you know what? I'll send it from my other computer. Take a look at this blog post. Fair warning, it's not a short blog post, but that is essentially the result of my research into this space. And my conclusion is that I am not interested in Tangled at all. and I don't have a um, I don't have a positive impression of it overall. What I can promise you though that if you're interested in this problem space, my blog post is not going to be boring. It is going to be long, but it's not going to be boring. And if you want to discuss things that I mentioned in there, I'm happy to do that. I don't know much about AT protocol, but it already feels odd to have the whole thing based on a protocol from Blue Sky rather than having their own thing. Well, AT Proto in general is meant to be multi-application. It's like I think it's meant to be like a general purpose way of creating distributed social applications. Then you can argue to what degree a forge should be social. To some it is. To some, it's not in the same way as Blue Sky is. Then the forge has its own special needs because it also needs to sync around source code like Git repositories. And AT Proto, maybe you could use for it, maybe you can't. For example, Tangled does not use the AT Proto infrastructure for source code. They have their own special thing called a knot, KNOT. And that is a special server that you can optionally set up to hold your data. But it's the same as a PDS. So like you set it up if you want to control your data. Otherwise, you use theirs for free. But overall, I think it's boring stuff. I think my prediction, which to me is not even a prediction, to me it's the same as solving a physics equation, and deriving velocity from from acceleration, and my prediction is that Tangled will enshitify. I don't think there is any other option for Tangle other than eventually enshitify. It will offer free shit for a while, while it has VC money to burn. But then eventually they will have to come to terms with the fact that there's going to be a bunch of freeloaders using shit for free, and they will have to decide to what degree they want to eat that cost. And then how hard to try and turn them into paying customers, which is ultimately what people refer to as enshittification, generally speaking. I don't think there is any other way. That is one reason why Tangled is boring to me. To me, Tangled is boring because it will have to enshittify. That is a necessity based on their business model and the fact that people expect to use that stuff for free, and also that they expect to give people stuff for free. They have to give people stuff for free because that's how, because otherwise they wouldn't become competitive with GitHub. But it is also the key reason why things enshitify, in my opinion. And on top of that, by being a distributed system, it's more expensive. Like, I suspect that running Tangled at scale will be more expensive than running GitHub at scale because Tangled is distributed in nature. It's more complicated. Like, that's my suspicion, although it's complicated because by being distributed, it means that some of the costs will not be shouldered by them. Like, if you run your own knot server, then that's a thing that they don't have to pay for. But on AT Proto, people don't set their own instances all that much. So the freeloading is going to be there no matter what. Especially the LLM fueled freeloading is going to be there. So that plus the fact that Tangled has no interest in local first workflows. For example, issues on Tangled, you can now download them and look at them on your computer. You have to go online. I mean, technically you don't have to, because the way that AT Proto works, you could have tooling to do things locally, but that's not their focus. They don't care about that. So in my opinion, overall, Tangled is boring as shit. Also, forking. A fork on Tangled is a normal fork like on GitHub, which means that the fork cannot be used as a mirror. So that to me is the key thing about Radical. The reason why to me it's worth buying into the complexity of an extra tool and peer-to-peer bullshit is that forking is a mirror. That to me is the key. Um, and that, in my opinion, is what makes overall Radical a lot more cost effective than other solutions. And Entangled is instead, sorry, just to make sure, that is what makes Radical. I'm not sure if I said Radical, but this is to me is what makes Radical interesting. And by contrast, this is what to me makes Tangled boring. Tangled does not try to solve any of these problems at all. No local first workflows whatsoever. They have an interest in locking people in, just like GitHub did. So they you know what? I hope that they try to do something local first eventually. I don't think they will, though. It's not in their interest. They will be forced to enshitify whether they want it or not, and then they are doing nothing to make redundancy be usable to get better availability, which is what Radical does. And so it's going to be essentially a more expensive GitHub with extra steps. That is my prediction for Tangled. I would like to see a peer-to-peer Git protocol that doesn't need to introduce any identity concepts Radical and Tangled do. In the case of Radical, my understanding is that what's good about an identity, well, you kind of need an identity because you need to be able to claim ownership of a repo. Like when you go to, when you look at Zine, for example, here, you can see that I'm the delegate of Zine. I'm the guy who decides what's official or not. And so my stuff is the canonical stuff. My tags are the canonical tags. You can make your own. You can make your own of all this stuff, right? Look at Mlug. Look at Mlug has some stuff because he made a bunch of. So this is what us playing with PRs at some point. We were looking at what it would take to do things. So these are all copies of the same PR that I ended up merging in the end. But like he has his own stuff, which you can inspect, but he's not authoritative when it comes to Zine. And so to do that, the concept of an identity is necessary. Then secondarily, I think that an identity here is useful because it allows you to ban nodes and to somewhat keep tabs a little bit on what other nodes are doing. Obviously, people can create fake identities. Yeah. And also, Git already has signed identity support. Yeah. Yeah, but it is not enforced, right? I oftentimes commit things without. I mean, that is that is still an identity, right? Sure. I mean, that's kind of what the identity on Radical is, essentially. It's an SSH key. So, I mean, we could have the same discussion about this system being just more integrated. Actually, it might be. You know what? I'm not sure, but I think that no, I think I didn't change my config to do this. Well, the nice thing about the way it works in Radical is two concepts, though. One is the concept of multiple delegates with a quorum. You can have multiple people defined as being the canonical, and then you can define also a minimum threshold of agreement between them before a new commit becomes officially part of the canonical. Essentially, the idea is, let's say that there's a project where we have 10 delegates, so 10 people that can push authoritatively, and then we have a threshold of 5 until half of the people have agreed on. I don't know what the terminology is. Also, I'm not even sure precisely on the workflow because I haven't done it yet. But I think you have to run a command to confirm that you accept a commit from another delegate to do that. And until a quorum is reached, then a new commit is not considered official, which I think it can be. It's nice in terms of making things more resilient. So I don't know. There's that. Is there anything else related to this stuff? Oh, here's one last thing where identities are used in radical in ways that are not strictly related to Git. When you have somebody's identity, you can use that to refer to their forks. You know, let's say that there's a project out there and you have a fork of it. So you're not the canonical, you as in Neurosite. So there's the official project, and maybe the official project has not been updated to Zig 017. You do the work to update to 017, and I want to use your work. I will use the repository ID plus your identity hash, your DID, and I will use that to say I'm interested in this repo, but specifically a branch made by this guy, and so that way I can depend on your fork. Because you also need a way of saying I want this specific dudes thing, and then that also doubles as well, in any case, there's at least that. How challenging was it to set up a radical node? Unfortunately, I cannot provide an experience report on that because what I did is that I disabled my GitHub subscription, and then I went to radical.garden, and I signed up to get a node. Let me see if I can log in. So maybe I can show you my admin panel. Uh-oh. I might not have my password there. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I went there, and then I just have this. Bye, Matt. Have a nice day. So yeah, I took the lazy route. I won't lie. So yeah, I took the lazy route, and I don't know, this is good enough. They also have you can click on integrations, and you can add a webhook to notify things, and they also have build kite integration if you want CI. Although I think that the build kite integration is maybe a temporary thing is the wrong way, but it's not the full-fledged final version of CI. They are working on better CI stuff, and the idea is to have CI also be information that gets committed to the repo, so that when you, for example, you're about to hop on a plane, right? So you pull from the network all your repos, and then you hop on the plane, and then while you're there, you can look at the issues, you can look at PRs, and alongside PRs, you will be able to see if the PR is green or not. Obviously updated up to the last time that you pulled from the network. So I think that's also going to be cool. So that's how it is for me. But so far, I found everything pretty much trivial. Mlag had a problem on his Linux machine because he got radical, but then he didn't have SSH agent configured correctly. And some radical stuff failed because radical uses SSH agent to sign things. I think they do that so that they don't load your private key in memory. I think that is why they shell out to SSH agent. If you're using NixOS and want to run radical node on your dev machine, word of warning, you need to work around the fact that the node runs as a separate user. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that Linux might have its own quirks. Okay, we were in the middle of oh, you know what? Maybe I can show some stuff. So check this out. Rad inbox. Right, my inbox is empty. Rad patch. Oh, right. I think this is not working because I'm inside of a weird branch. Okay, I'll need to get to a checkpoint with this work before I can show stuff. But in any case, the CLI tool for checking issues and PRs is well, patches. It's pretty nice. Can you show us a demo, or is it just an idea at this point? No, it exists. I'm not the one making it. Other people are making it, and it exists. Like this website that you're seeing, this is part of Radical. You can get the CLI tool. Like if you go to radical.dev, there's a getting started guide, and you can try it out if you want. I forgot to add a repository to Radical, so I did it, and it's literally rad init, and then you provide some info, and then it just pushes stuff, and you're good. Yeah. So I can't do a better demo of this for now because I'm in the middle of some work. And I don't have a lot. I'm starting to move my stuff to it. Move maybe is the wrong word because I'm not deleting it from where it was before. I'm in the process of adding my repos to Radical, so I don't have a lot of activity on there. But yeah. Okay, so Super HTML. Did I fix anything in here? No. Okay. Git pull. Okay. Zig build test. I'm guessing this will fail. I probably need to update LSP kit as well. Of course I do. What am I doing? Zig build test. This is complaining about. Oh, okay. It's not complaining about LSP kit. It's complaining about my stuff. Okay, so I have a bunch of uppercase debug that I need to fix. Okay. Okay, I need to fix message like I did before. Give me a sec. I'll have a very quick bathroom break and then I'm gonna continue. Okay. Do-do-do-do-do. Was that not in oh, it's in logic, right? Here's one. Here's a second one, I think. Okay, I think there's a couple of those, not that many. Hopefully. So what was the full thing? It was like markup? I don't remember. Markup content. There we go. There we go. Do you want to experiment with the delegates for a Weibo? I'm wondering whether I should radicalize now or later. Um, that is a good question. Also, there's one thing with regards to delegates, which is that making somebody a delegate is more of a touchy subject than giving somebody push access to a repo. Because when I give you push access to a repo normally, you have write access, but you don't have admin. So you don't have the ability to, for example, kick me out or kick out other people that have commit access. While if I make you delegate, you have all the powers. So there is no like intermediate can make changes but not touch the ID document, which frankly might be a thing that could be good to add to Radical. Although each one of these features comes with extra complexity, so I don't know even really what is the best choice here. But long story short, I think I would want to be cautious for a while about giving people delegate on Radical. I don't exclude it entirely, but uh, it's a bit more complicated. Yeah. Okay, so Zigbee test succeeds for Super HTML. Oops. There we go. By the way, pushing is really fast. I don't know if you noticed. Um, interestingly, pushing with Radical is faster than pushing to GitHub. Which is interesting, although that is probably not guaranteed to be the way because this is my node, but we synced with 3 nodes, so it's counting. Pushing is pretty much local, right? Yes and no. So the step 1 is yes, giving the data to your local node running on your computer. That is the local step. But then you see that here we also did synchronization, and we synchronized with my node as well. So, I don't know. I feel like this was fast simply because the system is faster. Let's see. I saw a recent video of Richard Feldman about dependency hell, and I started thinking about a solution for it. I have a nice idea. We'll be happy to hear your opinion about it. I don't like Odin radical approach. My idea: packages cannot have dependencies. This will introduce 2 new problems. Also, use a common type into packages solution, naive solution type mapping, but this can be improved. Ideally, have a len keyword link. Okay. 2, package A has a function, commute hash. Package B wants to use its solution. Let's pass it as a parameter. Potentially in Zig, we could write something like complaint function. We did have at some point this. I think I might have even written myself a proposal about it, where the idea is not much that packages cannot express dependencies. They can, but the fulfillment of those dependencies has to be done manually by you in your build script, meaning that essentially everything is flattened out, which I think it maybe it's not a one-to-one with what you thought, what you're thinking about, but it's at the very least in the same ballpark. So the idea is that if you have a dependency that wants access to a JSON parser, then you also need to depend on the JSON parser, and then you need to pass it to that thing in order for it to be able to use the JSON parser. It's an idea. I think that ultimately this stuff is not that important. I don't have full knowledge and visibility because Zig is a ecosystem that hasn't reached yet the point where the ecosystem is mature and people have a reason to depend on other people's code a lot. Currently, people tend to depend on other people's code a little bit, but not too much. And my point is, I think that dependencies, more than anything else, are something where the point is not the tooling. So to me, at the topmost level, the tooling is not important. It's the culture that is important. You want to avoid a culture where you are overly dependent on dependencies and where you end up depending on a bajillion different crates or Python packages or Go modules, and then your project is like a giant pile of code, the majority of which you don't even need, because when you have a ton of dependencies, chances are that you're using not all those dependencies in their entirety, but you're using them essentially for a fraction of their utility. And also at the same time, sometimes those dependencies can be super small in a way that make no sense. You know, left pad being the quintessential example of that being a problem. So that cultural aspect might be influenced by the tooling at your disposal, but I would argue it is not shaped by it. It is shaped by other values that you have or don't have in your community based on human interactions. In that sense, I think that the community is doing pretty well, because, I mean, there are noobs out there creating soups, like their projects are essentially soups of dependencies. I'm sure. But if you look at the major projects, if you look at what people in the core of the community who are like, let's say, the most prominent people in the community, that's not what they're doing. They're being very deliberate with their dependencies. They're not depending on stuff at random. Then secondarily, sure, the tooling is important and what you can or cannot do with your dependencies, and the how easy it is to fetch or not fetch, fork or not fork, vendor or not vendor, that will have an impact. And you want obviously your tooling to support the shape in which you want this stuff to work, how you want this stuff to work. And in that sense, like manual fulfillment of dependencies. By the way, I did make this proposal. Like, okay, I don't remember if I actually made it an official proposal that you can find on GitHub. It might be, but even if I haven't, I have discussed this with Andrew and the core team, and it's an idea. Like, you don't have to convince me because I was the one who proposed it, so I like the idea. But now that I've had, this was a while ago, but now if you ask me after my experience in the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 years using the package manager, do I think it matters much? I don't think it does. I think that ultimately the culture matters more, and having the tool make it easy to depend on other people's code is also nice. And yeah, that's it. To me, right now, it seems much more pressing figuring out a way so that we don't need a centralized package index, but at the same time, we don't have our builds failing all the time. Because right now we are bouncing between these two things. Either everything is hosted on something that never goes down, which used to be GitHub, but now it's not GitHub anymore. Or everybody goes into sets up their own separate Forjo, right? But then eventually your build is gonna fail, which then makes people want to fork and vendor everything. But then forking and vendoring is kind of making it harder to collaborate, and it's adding friction, and ultimately, in my opinion, is not as cost efficient as Radical. So to me, Radical is up or not Radical, peer-to-peer or not peer-to-peer, or what you do with package hosting right now seems a much bigger concern than how do you wire dependencies together. That being said, that might not be true forever, because at some point we will have to worry about version resolution. Right now, version resolution is not that big of a deal because, again, you don't have a ton of dependencies, so it doesn't happen all that often that you have like the diamond thing where you have two direct dependencies that then they themselves depend on a third package and might have a disagreement on which version they want. So that becomes a thing once you start using dependencies more than what at least I am doing right now. So I don't know. We might revisit this in the future. But yeah. Okay, so Super HTML has been updated. That gives us the ability to update SuperMD. We update Scripty. We update Super HTML because SuperMD depends on Super HTML. Zig build test. Oh, we depend on Translate C, of course. The bigger community is the less you can control the culture. Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, the tooling is not gonna save people from themselves. Like you can. This is gonna be a little bit harsh. I'm phrasing it this way just because it's easier. But you cannot fix stupid with a tool. A CLI tool cannot fix stupid. Do I need to nuke my Zig package? Okay, that is surprising me a lot. Why is Arrow Now failing. How? Also, this is not failing to run. This is failing to compile. Ours is not up to date with Master Zig. But I updated at the pen. Oh, you know what? That might be it. You're right. Because what is happening is that previously I did update Translate C, but it was in Zine, and I was never able to build because I needed to update all the dependencies first. So this is the first time that I update Translate C and I try to run a build. Um, I she I she. What Zig are you on? It's kind of like what drug are you on? This is it. Okay, so our choices here are I have a fork of I think of both Arrow and Translate C. I could try to update those and do myself the work of updating Arrow, or I could wait. You know what? Maybe waiting is not that bad. That would kind of mean that our adventure stops here, though. You're on 1476 and it works. What? I was saying that this is too new. Can you give me the full version string for 1476? I think alternatively, I could downgrade the Translate C version. Maybe the right solution is to downgrade Translate C a little bit, you know? The version that I was using earlier was matching what Matt uses. And if there are breakages in the meantime, then he also will have to update. Hey, skeptics, no problem. Thank you for the chat. So yeah, this no, we're back to fading. Um yeah, nope. I don't know. I don't know what up. Okay, I'm switching back to the other one. What's my translate C commit hash? Is this it? Mm. Sorry, this is translate C. Sorry, this is arrow, not translate C. Huh. Wait, why does it start the same? Key B, K, Q, B, U, W. Then the ending is different. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I guess that part never changes. No, that part does change, but the prefix is the same. That's interesting. So I don't know. I don't know. Or rather, no, I do know. And yeah, the answer is downgrade translate C. So let's see if we can find a translate C that we like. Maybe this one. Let's see how it goes. Drum roll. Holy shit, it succeeded. So we have a winner. This is our translate C. Nice. Also, wait, people told me, so this is the Radical desktop client. People told me that there is a search for issues and patches, I think, or at least, yeah, issue patch search. And I didn't notice it. The heck? Oh, it's this motherfucker. Fuzzy filter. Okay, Command F. I see. Okay, so there's more stuff than what I knew about. That's cool. Okay, so git status. This is awesome. Wait, why is this? Shouldn't this be commented out? No, never mind. Okay. Zig, update. Push to run main. Boom, done. Um, and that gets us to Zine then. That's delightful. So go to Zine, fetch a bunch of dependencies, starting from the right translate C. Then super HTML, then super MD. I don't think we depend on Scripty directly. We do depend on Ziggy directly though. I guess I need to double check in the zone file. Do we depend on Scripty? Oh, we do. Zig build test. Fuck. Something went wrong here. I think I pulled the wrong version of Translate C. I think I trusted the autocomplete when I shouldn't have, maybe? No, it says that it is up to date. So what is the problem here, officer? Let me nuke Zig package. Oh, no, 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 no. You know what's going on? It's another dependency. Right. So far my dependencies are good, but this guy is being pulled in by another dependency. Um who though? Who's the kernel pit? Is it LSP kit? No. Although I might need to update it. Is it scripty? No. Is it Tracy? Might be. It is not Tracy. Is it Mime? No. Is it Whoops? Bingo. I think we found the kernel pit. Yeah. Bad boy. Uh I have it, dependency help. Well, in my case, I control all my dependencies. So harmonizing the translate C dependency is easy. They're all mine. So okay, we found the curve bit, and with this we can rebuild test. Actually, no, I need to update it. Right. Hash is a prefix by package ID. I see. Hello, hello, random hacker. Quick question: is there a way to use PRNG at comp time? Um, you, I believe that you can instantiate a random, but you cannot seed it with a source of randomness from the OS. That would be a syscall. You cannot do syscalls from comp time. In theory, you could have a build argument. For example, you could have a build argument that uses the current time as the seed for your random, but then that becomes a input to the build. Um, so I don't know. Um, C built-ins. What is happening here? So what's happening is that I'm doing translate C twice, and it is producing. So let me nuke Zig package and let's see what ends up in there. So what's happening is that I'm doing translate C on the same things twice. with different settings. So the fact that there's two Ziggy in here, that's bad. There's two LSP kit, that's bad. Let's fix this. So Zig fetch. This is me forgetting to update this dependency. So um although wait a second. Why am I even depending on LSP kit in here? I think that this is dumb. Why am I even depending on LSP kit? I don't think the Z needs to depend on LSP kit. Sorry, let me see. Let me see if that causes a failure. Because I think I run a command to add it as a dependency by mistake, and yeah, so we shouldn't have this. Okay, so let's recreate Zig package and let's see what's in there. Okay, the guys that depend on LSP kit are Super HTML and Ziggy. Why do they disagree? They says that it's up to date. Oh, I know why. It's because SuperMD depends on the Ziggy, and I think I might not have updated this. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if this is now making more sense. Okay, this is not duplicated anymore. Awesome. So far, so good. Oh, sorry, this is AFL kit. This is LSP kit, which is not duplicated. Okay, good. So far, so good. There's no duplication of anything. Okay, so I removed all the duplications. Great. The next problem is that two different invocations to translate C are yielding a conflicting translated file. Or at least where. Let's see if this is still the case. It is still the case. Okay, I think these are the most annoying type of error to find. So how do you figure out how to diagnose this? I wish there was like a trivial way to diagnose this. But you know what? It might be. Oh, if I do the build without test, will it succeed? If it succeeds, then I know what's going on. It doesn't. Okay, so this is actually a good test. Okay, so who's doing translate C? There are only two places where we're doing translate C. One is in SuperMD for the Markdown parser bindings, and one is for woofs. And we're not doing any of this stuff multiple times. Oh, could it be that the NetBSD support causes this somehow? No, I don't think it can. That being said, this was not a problem before. You know what? Let me take a look at the changes. Let me take a look at the changes. So this adds a NetBSD watcher, and so far so good. Does this change anything in the build script? It does. But these seem all tame changes, so none of these seems something that would make or break it. Okay. So this does not seem to be something introduced by the PR that we received. This seems to be something else. Huh. Oh, technically there's Tracy, but no, Tracy doesn't have any dependency. But let's take a look what Tracy does anyway. Does he use translate C in any way? It doesn't. Okay, so Tracy, yeah, Tracy is never a problem. So it's not a problem in this case either. So when we create woofs, we pass mode. Okay, you want to see that it's the way that we invoke woofs that is the problem. How does it make translate C? Target and optimize, that is correct. But translate C is okay, so this is correct. Okay, then we need to look at SuperMD. And this is also correct. God damn. Okay, here's what we can do. We can maybe take a look at the c.c file and see if we can figure out which project is putting stuff in it. Well, c.zig, I guess. Hmm. Is this markdown? I don't think anything that we saw up until now would be able to tell us, right? Yeah, actually, this seems more like wolves, I think. I don't think that markdown would pull in all this stuff. Or wait, is there a third place where we use translate C for Do we use translate C for the file watch? Oh, that might be what's introducing the difference, the change. So yep, we make our own translate scene here, but we do it right. Yeah, this kind of looks like it. Okay. So wait, essentially this all succeeded, except that we ended up with the same file twice. Um. Okay, I think this is pointing at the fact that Also, where's my music? I think this is pointing at the fact that it seems that we're declaring. I think we're declaring a Zine executable or a Zine module twice in this build, and that's what's causing the problem. I'm really confused as to how. So okay, so this sometimes has to do with a misconfigured um sometimes this has to do with the misconfigured like release stuff. So let's do this. Let's reduce the build to a minimum. So let's remove anything that has to do with we don't set up schema check and we don't set up snapshot testing. So there's no testing. And let's also not have any release stuff. Okay, what happens now? Do. I had to set a gigantic branch quota. Oh. Okay. So this is progress. You know what? I'm starting to think that this might have to do with something that I changed myself, but where? What? Hmm. Okay, so this is definitely not something to do with testing or releasing. So what is it? I wish that Zig would print out not just that module, but also something, some more. Hmm. Um. Hmm. Oh, there we go. Here's here's a hint. Okay, so where do you see the import chain? This kinds of tells you something. C built-ins is C built-ins 0. How? Where does this even happen? libcmark GFM. So this would hint that we're looking at dep helpers equals helpers 0. Uh-oh. Is this a regression in translate C? I don't know how, but I'm starting to wonder. Is this a that might be the case? Because it really didn't change much. Oh, although here's CMark GFM. Dep C equals C0. Options equals option 0. Okay, you know what? You're coming with me. We're going on an adventure. The problem is C.zig. Exists in C built-ins and C built-in 0. So this is woofs depending on C built-ins 0. And this is libcmark GFM depending on C built-in 0. So so far so good. So what is the problem? MC0. So I see this MC0, but it has a different C file. You know what? I think that this is not on me. Um, this is a little bit too confusing. I'm starting to think that this is really not on me. Yeah. I also 3699 should have to be shown multiple times, and it's only shown once. So how did this command fail? That surprises me. It surprises me that this command failed. Okay, just in case I'm somehow forgetting something. Wrapped around document. Yeah, there's only one. It's only mentioned once. I'm confused. If this file is only mentioned once, how can it be in multiple modules causing an error? This looks like a bug. Okay, so here's what I think I'm gonna do. I think we actually hit a roadblock for real. I think I'm gonna end the stream here. It's been a while since I've streamed, so apologies. I usually take it easy getting started again, so I don't do super long streams right off the bat. I'm gonna try to figure this out offline, and hopefully next time that I stream, I'll have figured it out, and I will be able also to tell people what is it that happened. I suspect that this is not on me though, because I haven't touched anything that should really cause these problems to happen. I think, or if that is the case, then some rule has changed significantly, and yeah. Yeah, this file is just not mentioned. You know what? Am I doing weird stuff with the translate C output? Like, what do I do with the output that could be considered problematic? C source file. Then if we're on Linux, I do this. So I'm not. Uh, so I'm not even adding this as a dependency if I'm not targeting macOS. Actually, let's try Zig build R64 Linux. Then this should not fail like it did before, or at least not because of that translate C. Yep, it looks like that we're not hitting this problem. Out of curiosity, what if I modify this? So this is gonna tell me if it's a collision with something else. Okay, so this is not, it's not that. It's a collision with itself. How? Like, am I not supposed to do this? They should fail. Yeah, there we go. No, no module name C. So damned if I do, damned if I don't. I think this is a bug in Translate C. Hello, Quint. Sorry, I think you're arriving late. I'm at the end of my stream. I updated my dependencies to a newer version of Zig, and I hit what I believe is a bug in Translate C. Um, Either that or some rules have changed in a confusing manner, and I don't know. Have you tried Azai on your M2? No, I haven't. I have NixOS in a VMware VM. That's actually a good experience already. Personally, I wouldn't want to give up the convenience that macOS has. It's handy to have. Let's say that more operating systems is better than fewer operating systems. Then of course, virtual machine is not the same as running the OS on bare metal, but it runs really well. In any case, it runs really well in the virtual machine as well. I have the VM with a GUI and everything else, so the experience is good, and you can have the best of both worlds essentially if you want. So that's my favorite setup. Okay, everybody, thank you for hanging out. This has been it for me. Let me see if there's anybody that I'm gonna raid. Let's see, is anybody doing Zig? Nobody else is doing Zig. Toggle is not online. I think I'm gonna be lazy. Yeah, everybody, sorry. I'm just gonna call it a day. Thank you all, and see you next time. I think we are getting real close to starting to look into web again. Let's go. Thank you. Bye.